Welcome back. Welcome back to another Beeline to Passports. My name is Joe Batista. I'm your host. And tonight we have a special guest. He is a writer, producer. Also, he's an actor. And his name is Mr. Randy Oberdick. Randy, welcome to Beeline to Passports.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Happy to be with you.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. And like every week, we ask our guests how everything started. We want to know about your childhood, your education, where you're reading from, how long you've been in the beautiful industry, and all this great information. Please let us know.
Okay, well, I'm originally from York, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. I spent most of my adult life in Washington, D.C., so I guess I say I physically grew up in Pennsylvania, but mentally grew up in Washington. And so I was in Washington, D.C. for about 36 years. And my wife and I got involved in a little amateur theater group in the early 2000s. And we went to see some of their shows, and we thought it looked like a lot of fun. And we went out to dinner with a group from the cast one evening. And I said, that kind of looks pretty cool. I wouldn't mind giving it a try. So one of them actually cast me in a one-act short for the fall of 2005. So that was my first real acting opportunity. I was in The Fifth Commandment in 2005. And since that time, I did, I think, 14 shows with that little theater company before my wife and I moved to Florida, Clearwater, in 2020. So we decided we'd celebrate the pandemic by moving to Florida in March of 2020. And then when I got here,
and I have a question before you continue. When the pandemic moving, you said you started with the theater, but in your family, they have anybody that has been an actor or involved in the entertainment industry?
Well, yes, actually, my grandmother on my father's mother was in vaudeville. So
Okay.
I remember seeing a little picture of her playing Little Eva, and I don't remember the name of the show now. But she actually toured with vaudeville with her parents before she got married. And I never knew anything about that, of course. This was before I was born. But she could be pretty dramatic. So I could, once I learned that, I said, okay, well, I see where that's coming from.
Okay.
That's maybe where I got the bug. I don't know.
They probably. I always ask this because sometimes, there can be generations. And in this particular case, there was a grandfather fathering situation. Sometimes the parents that they were in the industry, and you being spending time with them on stage, and you see, okay, I want to do this for the future, but the seat in your particular case, there was some genes on you. Then okay, after you see that theater and you start, okay, I would love to be involved on this. They come, okay, now it's time. Now is the time to start. And then you said you moved in March 2020 to the Clearwater area, and
Mm-hmm.
then now when you move to the Clearwater area in 2020, during pandemic, everybody was basically in their houses, no shows, including for films that were very restricted by that time.
Yeah.
Um, you start doing something else?
Yeah. Well, my wife's originally from Florida, so that's why we moved back here. And when we got down here, I decided by the time we moved here, I had become a little bit more interested in film than in the theater. And while we were still in Washington, my wife and I kind of dabbled around in some film projects. One of them we did a documentary. We produced our own documentary called Heaven and Hell. So when I came down here, I decided I'm going to try to pursue some film opportunities and some theater. But the first thing I did in Florida is I got cast in a small stage production with Sage Theater Company, doing a little show called Phony Baloney. Meantime, I also started doing a little bit of writing, and I wrote my own short comedy, Sinking to the Top, which we got into a film festival last year. And I believe you interviewed Jose Roldan. If you
Correct.
remember that name, Jose Roldan, he was cast in that. Actually, he was one of my cast members in that show. So
Yeah,
those were the
he's
first two
a great
things I
friend
did
of mine.
in Florida: that little stage production and Sinking to the Top.
Yes, Mr. Roldan is a great friend of mine. We've been working in several films,
Yeah.
and included in a Christian film for JC Films. And then
Oh,
we
okay.
work together. That's right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you started doing the writing. You start building that part, that area, to do your documentaries. And now you start doing both the theater when there was available, I believe so. And but you start doing the writing and producing your own films or documentaries.
Right. Well, like you mentioned, things were a little slow for the first year or so because of the pandemic. And in fact, rehearsing and going through some of the shows with that theater group, we were still all wearing masks and so forth. But anyway, since then, um, I haven't been doing really any more theater, but more focusing on film. As I mentioned, we did the Sinking to the Top short. And since then, I've been in a few different films, two kind of as a featured extra in Dimming Lights recently, and The Truth About Monsters, which I think you talked with Heather Fraley about. And
Correct.
then more recently, I was in a film called Haunted Happy Hour, which I had a small part in. And also, I've continued to do a little bit of writing. Um, I'm I'm currently going to a screenwriters group meeting in Safety Harbor, which one Saturday a month everybody gets together and kicks some ideas around, and we read some scripts. So that's a good chance to get some feedback on some writing and to hear what other people are doing. And I'm also about three-fourths of the way through having a good draft of a feature that I've been writing, called The Truth Bureau. So
Nice.
that's
Nice.
interesting.
In question, most of your films, based on the names that you mentioned, they are Christian base or around the Christian base area.
No, I would say the Phony Baloney little stage production I was in, that was somewhat Christian based. They're
Okay.
like a public service group that focuses primarily in senior citizen issues.
Okay.
Otherwise, no, I've heard of JC Films, which you mentioned, and
Yes.
I'd be interested in working with those folks, but I haven't worked with any Christian-based films so far. Um, but the Sinking to the Top was a short comedy. Comedies are probably where I land most, where my probably my preferred or favorite genre. Um, However, the feature that I've been writing, The Truth Bureau, is actually a dystopian thriller, which is kind of out there for me. But I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I'm hoping to get that finished and maybe get somebody to produce it.
Awesome, 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 and that will be very great for putting out there. We have audience from anywhere in the planet. I can tell you, this is an internet radio, and we have followers from the South Africa, from the Europe continent, and also from the South and South America and the Caribbean.
Mhm.
You never know. You never know who is out there looking to do become an investor and produce some films and have new faces because they have this situation with the strike and it's over, but during that period of time that was almost 3 months. There was a lot of loss of money in for producers and also for investors. And now they were looking to other venues or avenues to start making some money, some areas, some income for in the entertainment industry, specifically with the films. Um, Randy,
Yeah.
let's take the first commercial break. And when we come back, we will continue learning more about you, about your story, about projects that you are involved in, looking to be involved. But let's take this first short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Beeline to Passports on GKI Radio. We are back. We are back from commercial break. Great music. You're listening GKI Radio. My name is Joe Batista. I'm the host of Beeline to Passports, and this show is Mondays at 8 p.m. on your dial GKI Radio. Tonight, we have a special guest. He is an actor, writer, and producer, and his name is Randy Oberdick. Randy, we uh, we were talking on the first segment. You moved from Washington, but also you're original from Pennsylvania, and you decide to go to the Clearwater because family, your wife is a Floridian, and you start getting involved now with the organization of independent filmmakers. That's the new name because now they have different chapters. The original name there was Orlando Independent Filmmakers. Now we have the chapter of Orlando, chapter for Tampa, and very soon Los Angeles chapter. Um, and you said that you started doing some writing and started getting more in deep with the writing and looking to have some producer to take one of these projects and then make this project a reality. Now, in having just mentioned, and also your genre, your preferred genre is more comedy. Uh, have you thought any other genre or get involved in a genre like mystery or crime or included sci-fi?
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned the genres because, as you probably know, um, horror seems to be a huge genre, and everybody seems to be getting involved. Doing all these horror films, and I would have to say that that's probably one of my less least favorite genres. Um, but I'm happy to work in anything that gives me a good opportunity. My first preference is to be an actor, but I've discovered I enjoy writing. So, although as you mentioned, I do like comedy probably more so than other things. I sort of like the sci-fi arena as well, and drama. So, um, I guess that's why I've started writing some different things. Um, I wrote my own short, "Sinking to the Top," and it kind of made me realize I sort of enjoy writing, and I think I'm pretty good at writing. So that's why I started to try some other things.
And something then very interesting that you mentioned, yeah, the mystery and also uh, the sci-fi. They are the most common because people love that, and people have been combining, for example, the mystery or with comedy to try
Hmm.
to have these two worlds, going together because they attracting two different audience to watch it because they can put more of what they were looking. Same thing with the sci-fi. The sci-fi lately, I've noticed they've been putting on the sci-fi some lines or sometimes part of the whole script. They have some comedy because
Hmm.
they've been attracting other audience to get involved to this genre. Uh, Now then, you start doing, and you say you have a this script in 3 quarters already. Maybe if you can put some touch of one of those, then they can probably attract any of these producers. We call it the big budget guys because they have big, deep uh, pockets for some of these projects. Because we know, in the industry. To produce a film, you can do it, low budget, but you're looking to hit big guys like Netflix, Amazon, or Lionsgate. One of those, they need to be investors involved because you need certain equipment and certain quality than they looking in quality in audio and quality on the at the end when they edit the project. Uh, but yeah, that will be great. That will be cool. Let's say that way to see uh, adding maybe one of those, then they can attract the different audience as well. That will be amazing, adding. And have you thought to start that project, that feature film, as short film to see how the audience accepted? I mentioned this because our mutual friend Heather Fraley, in a project that I participate, that was the idea. They did the Hinders. We did the film as a short film, and that was part of the organization of independent filmmakers for the Orlando chapter. And now we're looking for 2024 to do this as a feature film, because people love it. People, when they see the short film, they felt, hey, that could be a great feature film with the subject that was showing on that particular film.
Yeah, I did think of that actually. And well, to go back to your first point, um, though the script and the film is kind of a little dark and heavy, being a dystopian, I do have lighter comedy moments throughout it. You know, when people are, you know,
Okay.
talking about situations. There's a couple that's dating and it doesn't go anywhere, and then reflecting on that. So there's comedic moments in the film. So I think that's important, like you said, to kind of balance it out. Also, though, with respect to what you were talking about, doing a short version, I was recently taking an acting class in St. Pete, and I was talking to one of the experienced instructors, and about getting some contacts to do this film. And she suggested that maybe you could find a scene or a couple of scenes or a section of the film that would kind of stand up as a short. So I would like to do that if I could. Um, I probably would have preferred to do a short to begin with, but this idea I have for the Truth Bureau really cannot be done properly as a short. But if I can find a portion or a segment or a few scenes that could be done, put into a festival as a short, I would like to do that.
Yes, and sometimes that's the other key right there. When you create as a short film and you submit it to different festivals, and now people can see your project or some of your projects, and they probably gonna get interested in talk to you, to go around and say, hey, let's make this as a feature film, or let's try to do this in another kind of version or another kind of genre. Then it is more attractive for investors, for different producers in the area. But that's great. That's amazing. Then you have been going around, learning, talking to people. I always said networking is key in any industry, but in this one in particular, is very important, because when you do network, automatically you're going to get feedback on different areas. Who's looking to invest? Uh, who can be your next star in a film, and also the crew. That is super important.
Yeah,
Having the right crew on any film is key. And most when you looking to pitch to big guys like Netflix, Lionsgate, and any of those, Amazon, um, that is key to have the right crew, the right cast, and getting to the point, and then move forward in the career.
yeah,
Most
absolutely.
definitely.
I mean, you got the script, you got the production, you got the cast. If you're not, at least good, if not great, on all three of those, it's you're you have a problem.
That's
Because
right. That's right.
you
And you
know
start calling Houston. Houston,
tough to make good
we have
movies.
a problem. That's right. That's right. All right, Randy, let's take another short commercial break. And when we come back, we will continue talking about the projects and future projects as well, and anything that you are have, getting to your career. But let's take this short commercial break. And people, remember to drop a comment or question if you would like to hear them answer on this show. The number is 407-476-9059. Remember to say my name, Joe Batista, and your name and your comment or question. And you could also hear it here in Be Like to Passports on GKI Radio. Welcome back. Welcome back to Beeline to Passports. You're listening GKI Radio. I'm Joe Batista. I'm the host of the show Beeline to Passports every Monday at 8 p.m. here in your station, GKI Radio. And tonight we have a special guest. He is a producer, writer, also an actor, and his name is Randy Oberdick. Randy, on the previous segment, we were talking about different areas, specifically, the genres, the projects that you're looking to achieve, and also areas like future plans with the project to basically to have a feature short film to see if you get some investors, some producers, they're looking to take that project and make it bigger, make it as a feature. Uh, Now, beside that you already started, uh, future, what you're looking in the next year to achieve, what you're looking to on the next year, next 5 years to achieve in your career as a writer, producer, and actor.
Well, as I said before, I think I primarily am interested in acting. So I would like to get cast in some films. Um, I was just I just joined Backstage recently and put my profile on there, and soon thereafter I was sent some sides to send in an audition tape, which I just sent in yesterday. So I'm going to go through the various channels to audition and hopefully work on some other people's films. And I think along the way, I'd like to do some more writing. Um, Aside from the feature that I'm kind of moving along, I think the next few things I might want to do are some more shorts, maybe some comedy shorts to put into some film festivals and just kind of network and, meet some people and make some connections.
Awesome. Yes. And, got the different actors access, getting casting network commercial side, that is key. Basically, casting and network, they do a lot of commercials in commercial for companies like Disney and also Universal, SeaWorld, and other organizations also in the area. Beside that, I always recommend to people that are involved on the entertainment industry to start looking on areas like Mandy. They have the different, let's say, groups that they are part of the example, Facebook or Instagram for the different area, Brevard, Miami-Dade. They have groups that they have paid and also non-paid um, gigs in getting looking also in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Because let me tell you, uh, Atlanta is right now the new Hollywood. That is where many film production companies are based. I remember a couple years ago, there were like 21 or 27 films at the same time in Atlanta, in Georgia, in the different areas of Georgia, included, Adam Sandler. I always say this on the show. I have a good friend of mine. His sister worked for Adam Sandler. And when they decide to move from LA to Georgia, she was so happy because she's from Oviedo, Florida. They're basically north of Orlando. And she can now visit her family
Okay.
because before there was different, taking a flight to go first to Texas and then jump from Texas to Orlando. Now she can drive in the weekends, every weekend, and visit family. But big companies like that, big companies, one of the most famous shows or films, the Avengers. They are in Atlanta now, in Georgia.
Mhm.
They call it a home base now. Um, they did the famous Black Panther, the second movie for Black Panther that was done in Georgia and Puerto Rico. They did it seven or eight scenes there in that film that were done in Puerto Rico, and then the others were done in Georgia. Now the Lords of the Rings, Lords of the Rings, they did a most recent film that was done in Georgia. What does mean? That is an area to look.
Mhm.
I always said if the person have the capability to travel, and when they have a callback to spend time in Georgia working, hey, take that advantage because that area right now is hot
Yeah.
on films. And every time when you go to Casting Network or you go to Actors Access, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see they're looking for actors, background, uh, and people for crews for Georgia because they're very busy. And I was reading, I believe that was last week or a week before that. They has one organization, one company. Uh, then they going to build one of the biggest studios in the nation in Georgia, and that organization they're going to be basically uh, opening many projects because they're going to have the studios for do TV shows and also films in the same building. What does mean? Hollywood is moving to Georgia, and we know why. Taxes. I always say that taxes because it's less expensive. Being in the state of Georgia, and the state of Georgia is giving incentive. Then we've been pushing on the governor, Florida governor, to listen. Hey, we need one the incentive back because they will attract more and more films or business to our area, to our state.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's the business is becoming very much more decentralized all over the place. Really, Georgia is big. I was surprised when we moved to Florida to find such a big arts community here. I mean, just just in Pinellas County, where I am, there's half a dozen, healthy theater companies doing, little that have little theater troops. And when I look through the casting the casting notices on Backstage or in Facebook groups, like you talked about, there's films all over being made all over the place, and it's surprising how many people are making films in little towns everywhere. And I know Atlanta, as you said, is a big area for filmmaking, or in other places in Georgia, but there's a lot in Florida too, and so there's a lot of opportunities.
Yes, yes, and let me tell you, included in the Caribbean. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico has been getting more and more incentive for producers. Like I mentioned, Black Panther, also the Blue Beetle. There was a film recently on theaters. They did more than half of that film that was done in Puerto Rico. The
Really?
Fantasy Island, yes, with Rosalind Sanchez, that is on ABC. That is done in Puerto Rico. The whole, basically, they believe it's 3 seasons now. They was done in Puerto Rico. They did the Karate Kid, the one in Netflix. Then that one, they did several days filming in the island as well. You notice that, and we go to the neighbor, Dominican Republic. In Dominican Republic, there have been many films they using Dominican Republic to be because the incentive that they are providing. So what
Mm-hmm.
does mean? Then we have a big avenue to start knocking in, because we are here in Florida. It's easier for us to take a flight because it's 2 hours, maximum 3 hours to go to any of those places.
It
Uh,
sounds more fun to go there than to
California,
Atlanta.
going to yes, yes,
Caribbean's better
and to
than
going to
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yes, and most at this time, they probably the weather in Puerto Rico is around 80 degrees, and you go to Georgia, it's probably 60s or below 60. And
Okay.
also the conditions. You go to the Caribbean, and you can do the whole film in areas, and you have, for example, beach, but you have also the countryside, and you have mountains and forest, all this in one place. Then basically, based on your script, you can use all these great locations in a film, most definitely. All right, Randy, let's take another short commercial break. And when we come back, we will continue getting more information about you, and also your social media, your IMDb, and continue with your story. But let's take this short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Beeline to Passports on GKI Radio. We are back. We are back from commercial break. Great music. And you're listening GKI Radio. My name is Joe Batista. I am the host of Beeline to Passports. And tonight we have a special guest. He is an actor, also writer and producer, and his name is Randy Oberdick. Randy, uh, tell us your social media. Tell us where the people can see your projects and also your IMDb.
Well, I'm on IMDb, Randy Oberdick, as it's spelled there on the screen, and I'm on Instagram at Randy Oberdick one, the number one. I am not on TikTok.
That's good. Now you just mentioned that you're not on TikTok. You know, for some reason now the actors they having this TikTok also just to get more audience
Mhm.
because TikTok is worldwide and they're big in different communities, like for example China. They have big communities, and then they only follow the basically for the time the TikTok platform, and they following the people, and at the same time they will attract to see and follow you in other social media. And I noticed that they have many actors having that platform used as a base just to attract more and more and more. I'm like you. I have TikTok, but I have TikTok only to see what other people do, but I don't do any dance or anything there. I avoid all
You're not
that
dancing.
area. Uh,
Well, I'm
yeah,
an old guy.
I
I
don't
don't look
feel
good
I
when I'm
you
on
know.
TikTok. So
And let me tell you, have you seen some videos of people like Nicolas Cage, and you see this guy don't need the platforms. These people they have following around the world, included out of this planet. He probably have
yeah,
some followers, but they do, the videos and all the things just to attract probably the youth. Probably is what they do.
yeah, bored, having some fun, right?
That's right. That's right. Um, Let me tell you, I was looking here for Georgia, and this is very um, important to understand and to know. The state of Georgia provide a production-friendly tax incentive of 20% tax credits of companies that spend 500,000 or more in a production and post production. That is why many companies are going to Florida. Out of Florida, going there
Georgia.
uh, to Georgia and going to Hollywood. And they say Hollywood best and the brightest seek the lowest tax price. And that's why they moved to Georgia. Now we have the answer why they do 21 films at the same time in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think Hollywood's going out of business, but there is a lot of stuff happening in Georgia.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And areas, for example, Florida used to have the incentive. They decided to make some changes, and that changes turned to, a lot of organizations leaving the area. I remember I've been in Florida 25 years. And on that 25 years, I seen the changes. They used to be
Mhm.
so big in Disney. They used to have all these studios. The famous Mortal Kombat that was done over there. Die Hard was done here in Orlando. Um, Other films that were done in Orlando, Universal as well. There was a lot of those. Universal used to have the studios to do wrestling. They do it now with a different organization, but they used to have the wrestling companies doing everything using Universal Studios.
Hmm.
That has been changed a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I know there were. I thought there were still some incentives in Pinellas County for films. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I did. I have seen some talk of a few folks wanting to do their films in Georgia, moving their operation out of Florida. So I'm not sure what incentives may be left in Florida or not.
Yeah, has been was talking to the owner of Studio Lot in Orlando, Miss Beth, and that was last week. I was doing some voiceover for a film. Basically, it's a TV show that's coming up on Tubi TV, and we were talking about that. And she said, based on right now, they need to be $1 million is spent on production and post production to receive some incentive. The
Okay.
percentage, she didn't tell me the percentage, but when you see, then you need to have half of that, and you receive a 20% tax credit on in Georgia. That's why it's more attractive going to the
Mhm.
state of Georgia. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Randy, your final thoughts before we finish the show today?
Well, I'm just happy to see so many people working in the film industry down here in Florida, and I'm hoping to hook up with a lot of good folks. And thanks for having me on the show. And I did look at your podcast and saw a bunch of my friends on there. So you're keeping good company.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. And yes, our show is open to all the actors, actresses, and also people in the entertainment industry, including models and community leaders, to come and promote their careers and help, also to grow their career, because we don't know who is out there looking for new talents to get involved in their projects. But again, thank you for accepting the invitation. And again, hopefully very soon we can work together in a project and continue with what you're doing. And you're doing a great job with your writing and looking to have producers to move forward your projects.
Well, thank you very much. And if anybody wants to have a look at my short, it's Sinking to the Top, Randy Oberdick. Just look it up on YouTube.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And people, thank you for being with us in another Beeline to Passports. And remember, be a leader, rock the world, inspires others with your emotions in control. Good night.